Picture this. A regular Tuesday in Washington, the president tweeting away, when suddenly a quiet statement from Tokyo changes everything. Japan, America's loyal ally for over 70 years, announces it will settle a significant portion of its trade with China using the Chinese yuan, not the US dollar. In the White House, shock. This isn't just a financial update, it's a geopolitical earthquake. For decades, the world has traded in dollars. It's the foundation of US power. So for Japan to say, "We'll use China's money," is a stunning move. Imagine your best friend suddenly switching teams at the championship game. President Trump reportedly saw it as a personal betrayal, especially after touting a phenomenal trade deal with Japan. Markets panicked. The dollar wobbled, Tokyo stocks plunged, and everyone asked, why now? This wasn't random. It was years in the making. Tensions, shifting economies, and cracks in the old world order. Japan's move is more than currency. It's a signal of economic independence and a warning that America may not always call the shots. It's a story about money, power, and the fragile balance of global politics. And to understand it, we need to look at how the world worked before this shockwave hit. Because this is the moment everything started to change. Let's rewind and see why the dollar mattered so much in the first place. Why is Japan's move such a big deal? It's all about the US dollar's special status. For decades, the dollar has been the world's reserve currency, the default for global trade. Coffee from Brazil to Germany, priced in dollars. Oil from Saudi Arabia to Korea, paid in dollars. Countries stockpile dollars as a safety net, giving the US huge financial advantages. This dominance was cemented after World War II, when the US economy towered over the rest. Even after the gold standard ended, the dollar remained king, stable, reliable, and everywhere. But lately, some countries are questioning this setup. When the US stumbles, the world feels it, and America can weaponize the dollar, cutting off rivals through sanctions. That's made countries like Russia and China eager to de-dollarize, to trade in their own currencies. For Japan, being too dollar-dependent is risky. Wild swings in the dollar can wreak havoc on its export-driven economy. And unpredictable US policies make that risk even bigger. So, diversifying, using the yuan alongside the dollar, starts to look like smart insurance, not betrayal. It's about reducing vulnerability in an uncertain world. The dollar's dominance isn't guaranteed forever, and Japan's move is a sign that the world is starting to hedge its bets. The backdrop? Trade war. President Trump slapped a 24% tariff on Japanese goods, calling it reciprocal. But to Japan, it felt like an attack. Japan's economy relies on exports to the US, cars, electronics, you name it. The tariffs hit hard. Tokyo's stock market plunged. Companies like Toyota and Sony lost billions in value overnight. For Japan, this was baffling. Years of careful diplomacy, new trade deals, and even golf diplomacy with Trump, suddenly undone. The tariffs felt like betrayal, proof that goodwill couldn't protect Japan from America's unpredictable policies. So, Japan started looking for new options. If your biggest customer turns hostile, you look for new friends. Relying on the US dollar and market now seemed dangerously risky. The tariffs didn't just hurt profits. They shook the foundation of the US-Japan alliance. And that's when Japan turned east, toward China. Here's the paradox. US tariffs hit Japan, and instead of the yen weakening, it surged. Why? The yen is a safe haven currency. When global markets panic, investors flock to the yen for safety. But for Japan, a strong yen is a nightmare. It makes exports more expensive and hurts its economy. So, just as tariffs slam Japanese exporters, the yen's strength delivers a second blow. It's a cruel irony. Global fear, often triggered by US policy, ends up hurting Japan even more. The Japanese government constantly battles to keep the yen from getting too strong. But global panic is hard to fight. This safe haven status is a headache for Japan's leaders. Every crisis, the yen surges, and Japan's economy suffers. That's why Japan is desperate to reduce volatility. A closer financial relationship with China, and more trade in yuan, could help stabilize the region. It's a way for Japan to escape being the world's financial lifeboat every time a storm hits. The yen's strength is both a blessing and a curse, and it's pushing Japan to rethink its place in the global financial system. For years, the dollar ruled global trade, but China's yuan is rising fast. Once tightly controlled and barely used outside China, the yuan is now part of Beijing's global ambitions. China set up currency swaps, pushed the yuan in its Belt and Road Initiative, and got it included in the IMF's elite currency basket. The goal? Challenge the dollar's dominance and reduce China's vulnerability to U.S. sanctions. If more trade happens in yuan, China gains influence and sets more of the rules. Japan's decision is a huge win for China. Japan isn't a fringe player, it's a G7 economy and America's closest Asian ally. For Japan to use the yuan for major trade is the biggest endorsement China's currency has ever received. It signals to the world, the yuan is now a real option for advanced economies. This is a crack in the dollar's fortress, and China is ready to widen it. The currency game just got a new heavyweight. Japan's yuan embrace is a high-stakes gamble. The upside: less exposure to U.S. volatility, smoother trade with China, and a shot at stabilizing the yen. Closer financial ties with China could create a powerful Asian economic bloc, reducing wild currency swings. For Japanese exporters, that means more predictability and less pain from the yen's safe haven curse. But the risks are real. China and Japan have a tense history and ongoing disputes. Relying on the yuan means trusting China's opaque, government-controlled financial system. Japan could be swapping one kind of unpredictability for another. The biggest risk: angering the U.S., its key security ally. America provides Japan's security umbrella. Alienating Washington is dangerous. Japan is walking a tightrope, trying to balance economic gains with security needs. If it slips, the fallout could be severe. This is a delicate, high-wire act with global consequences. This isn't just about money, it's about power. For 70 years, the U.S.-Japan alliance anchored Asia-Pacific stability. But China's economic pull is now irresistible, even for America's closest allies. Japan's move signals that economic interests may outweigh old security ties. Countries are starting to play all sides, not just pick one. For the U.S., this is a wake-up call. Dollar dominance isn't guaranteed. When America acts unpredictably, allies look elsewhere. Japan's shift is a vote of no confidence in U.S. leadership. For China, it's a strategic win, cracking the U.S. alliance system through economics, not force. If others follow Japan, the world could shift to a multipolar order, with the U.S. as just one of several powers. This is more than a currency change. It's a quiet revolution. The global chessboard is being reset, and the next moves will shape the future. What does all this mean for you? The dollar's dominance keeps imports cheap and borrowing costs low in the U.S. If the dollar weakens, imports get pricier. Phones, cars, even coffee could cost more. Borrowing costs for the government and consumers would rise. But a weaker dollar could boost U.S. exports, helping American manufacturers and farmers. It's a trade-off. Higher prices for some, more jobs for others. The biggest risk? Instability. Competing major currencies could mean more volatility. Currency swings driven by U.S. China tensions. That uncertainty could hit your wallet, your job, and your investments. Japan's move is a small step toward a different world. Whether it's better or worse is unclear, but change is coming. The global system you've known is shifting, and those changes will eventually reach your household budget. The world is about to get a lot more unpredictable. So, what's next? Watch Washington's response. Will it retaliate or rethink its approach? If other countries follow Japan, we could see a domino effect, accelerating the shift away from the dollar. Keep an eye on new currency agreements and financial headlines. Most importantly, watch China. Will it act responsibly as the yuan rises, or use its new power aggressively? The world is watching how China manages this moment. If it succeeds, the yuan could become a new pillar of global finance. If it stumbles, we could see a crisis that makes us nostalgic for the old dollar system. The tectonic plates of global power are shifting. This story will shape the world our children inherit. Stay informed. The next chapter is being written right now.